What's up, YouTube? Scott here with the Carrera Cafe, and today we're going to be talking about the new to me Lexus LX570. This vehicle is going to be in my daily driver slot next to my air-cooled 911. If you've been following along on my channel, you know that I recently purchased a Land Rover Range Rover L405 autobiography, and it's been a bit problematic, so I've decided to part ways with that vehicle, and I'll bring you guys a video on that topic. But today I'm going to spend some time with my new LX570 and share with you guys why I think this is the last vehicle of a dying breed, and in the not so distant future, all of us are going to be wishing manufacturers still made cars like this one. With that, let's get behind the wheel and I'll give you guys my thoughts. All right, guys, behind the LX570. Lexus has always done a very good job at interior build quality. There are certainly some plastics in here, but they've done a really good fit and finish. Plenty of leather, plenty of good feeling materials. I like this kind of matte finish wood grain. There are certainly some other options to spec in here. Quite frankly, I wasn't too excited about the color combination, but if you've done any shopping for these LX570s here in the United States, you'll know that it's a little bit difficult to find one. I had to go 350 miles or so to find any available, regardless of year and miles. So I didn't have the luxury of being very particular about the color. So build quality is great. It's up to par with modern luxury vehicles. Where it, air quotes, falls short is in the technology side of things. And I'm going to actually kind of take the opposite approach of what most YouTubers do, and I'm going to make a list of things that this vehicle doesn't have and why those items are important that it doesn't have. I think that we are getting into an era where we are speaking about the good old days, right? And that's reflective in how we listen to music nowadays, right? We're going back to music medium, CDs, vinyl. People don't want Spotify telling you what to listen to anymore. You want to curate your own music and maybe break out that old iPod classic from back in the day. And I think that nostalgia is going to eventually translate to the automotive world, because modern vehicles are becoming too technology focused, too technology dependent, and we need to start asking ourselves, just because we can, does that mean we should? So let's get behind the wheel, go for a drive, and I'll talk about a few of the features that this vehicle lacks and why I think because it lacks those items, it has a place in the automotive future. And I think in a not so distant future, people are going to be asking for vehicles like this again. So let's get into some of the things this vehicle doesn't have and why I think it's important. Right out of the gate, you'll notice this vehicle has traditional analog gauges. This is probably one of the things that dates this vehicle the most. This is a 2016, and they made this vehicle all the way until 2021. During that entire run, the vehicle maintained an analog gauge cluster. I think people will get in this car and, oh my gosh, you don't have a full digital screen? Well, let's reevaluate in 10 to 15 years and see how that digital screen is treating you. I purchased a 23 Tundra TRD Pro, and it had the entire gauge cluster was a screen. Within 8 miles of me leaving the dealership, brand new vehicle, the entire gauge cluster was dark, would not turn on. I could not see turn signals, my speed, dash lights, anything. In 10 to 15 years, we are not going to want screens in our gauge clusters. They're not going to be reliable enough. I truly believe that the auto manufacturers are really leaning into the technology that we're used to on our cell phones now and saying, you know what, this is what consumers want. Let's give them more and more technology, because by the time their car loan's paid off, that technology is going to be obsolete, right? And it's just, we're going to be feeding into this churn of vehicles now. I bet if we were to look at the data, people are owning vehicles for shorter and shorter time periods than they did in the past. And there certainly could be a lot of theories as to why. After all, we're called consumers, right? We consume things, and one of those things is technology, right? And the auto manufacturers are starting to train us that, oh, you need CarPlay, you need electronic door handles that pop open, you need vehicles that can drive themselves. And certainly all that functionality is great, but where's it going to leave us in 10 to 15 years? Hey, there's a new Land Cruiser right there. Love the look of them, but I am not a fan of a 4-cylinder hybrid. So 10 to 15 years from now, I think some of this technology that we're putting in vehicles is going to force us to buy more and more and more. And I'm here to tell you that less is more when it comes to automobiles. So the analog gauge cluster, sure, it dates itself a little bit, but you know what? In 300, 400,000 miles, those needles are going to be moving. The next thing this vehicle doesn't possess is some digital gear selector. Vehicles have gone to buttons and knobs. This vehicle has a traditional shifter. And some people, again, are going to get in that and look at that and think, wow, that's old technology. And you know what? It is old technology, but it works. And in 300,000 miles, this is going to work. I want a traditional gauge, a traditional shifter in my car. One of the things that I am surprised Lexus caved on, and it's probably because of real estate, is the parking brake. I'm really surprised with the kind of mechanical trend that this car has gone, that they gave us an electronic parking brake. Not the end of the world, but I would have preferred a traditional, usually they're a pedal parking brake in Toyota and Lexus products when they're mechanical. The next thing that this vehicle doesn't have is CarPlay, right? People are so accustomed now to being able to get in and have their phone pair to the screen and show text messages and use Siri and all these things. Well, I'm here to tell you, I'm of the opinion I don't want that, actually. I've been trying to distance myself from technology, and I think others are doing this as well. I don't want my phone and my car to be married together. I don't want the distractions, the Facebook notifications, the text notifications. I'm one of those guys that uses the cell phone feature that when you get into your car, it puts it in Do Not Disturb, because I don't want to be texting behind the wheel and all those things. That CarPlay is influencing, that distracted driving, in my opinion. Sure, it helps a little bit by making sure you don't have to look at your phone to do certain things, but it's still encouraging you to be, connected with your phone and social media and what's going on. So I think this infotainment falls into a great spot where 5 to 10 years from now, it's not going to feel dated because of the screen size, the resolution, but its functionality isn't predicated on CarPlay. There are actually brand new cars now that don't even possess navigation because that functionality stems from your cell phone. Well, what if I'm in the middle of nowhere and I don't have cell phone service and I want to use the pre-programmed satellite-based navigation in a vehicle, right? So the fact that this doesn't have CarPlay and has kind of this middle-of-the-road infotainment, I actually think is going to make it more appealing in 10 to 15 years because you don't have to pair your cell phone to get anything to work. You just get in and go. Lexus has always done a great job with the Mark Levinson stereo. It certainly isn't top-notch. I've been in BMWs and Porsches and Mercedes that are going to have a far better stereo than this, but it is absolutely sufficient, and I don't think you'll be disappointed in the stereo. Now, let's talk about the mechanical side of things, because I think that's one of the reasons why you buy this car, right? So again, let's talk about what it doesn't have. This vehicle doesn't have a hybrid system. So there is no batteries providing extra power or torque or better fuel efficiency. This vehicle doesn't have turbos or a supercharger, right? There's no forced induction to create more power and smaller displacement. This vehicle has a naturally aspirated V8 that's being used in the Tundra, the Land Cruiser, and it's been around for a very long time. What I love about this vehicle is, although it was produced from 2016 to 2021, if you were to buy this car brand new back in 2021, mechanically, it was already a 10 to 15-year-old vehicle. The drivetrain in this vehicle has been around for a very long time. It's proven. Everything on this car is designed to mechanically last for 30, 40 years. And you will frequently see Land Cruisers and LX570s for sale with 2, 3, 4, 500,000 miles. And you just can't say that about other luxury SUVs from this time period. And this car didn't sell well when it came out, because if you went in and drove a brand new X5 BMW or a Porsche Cayenne, all of those vehicles were way ahead in terms of technology, in terms of blending performance and kind of SUV. So these didn't sell well. But you know what? I don't see BMW X5s with 300,000-400,000 miles on them. You just don't. So mechanically, that's one of the reasons why you buy this car. Is it is, for lack of better words, a Toyota Tundra without a pickup bed, right? It's loose behind the wheel, it's comfortable, but it gives you this kind of, you feel invincible. You're confident behind the road. I am at no point worried about this car mechanically breaking down. I'm not worried about being in a situation where I can't get unstuck. We'll talk about the kind of off-road technology here in a bit. But again, this doesn't have all of the modern mechanical features that you get with a new vehicle. One of the things I really love in this vehicle is the steering, okay? It is still very much mechanical. You know what that means? There is no lane keep assist. There's no automatic driving. Those features require electronic steering. Again, what is that going to feel like in 10 to 15 years when those systems start to not work properly? This car has mechanical steering still. Sure, it'll bing you when you get out of your lane, but it's not going to drive for me, and that's what I want. I don't want a vehicle that's going to drive for me. Now, of course, one of the downsides with this 10 to 15-year-old mechanical makeup is fuel economy, and you're just going to have to live with it. I get 12 to 13 miles per gallon in this thing. Oh, wow, we got a fire truck here on this small road. That's interesting. Tight squeeze. In addition to getting bad fuel economy, I don't know if it was lack of room because of the off-road capabilities, but this vehicle has a pretty small fuel tank. I've been almost on E, and the car only took 19 gallons, so that's about 220 miles out of a tank of gas. So I don't know why they didn't put a huge fuel tank in here, but that's just one of the downsides. You're exchanging fuel economy for long-term reliability. And it's a buttery smooth V8. It's quiet, it's silky smooth, it's consistent. I know how it's gonna drive, but it's not a sports car. It doesn't try to be, and I don't want it to be. I have a sports car for that. Now, let's talk about a few other things that are becoming norm in the car market, okay? Last week, or it was the week prior, I rented a 2025 Land Rover Range Rover for about a week and a half while I was searching for this car. And I kid you not, that vehicle did not have a single button in the center console stack besides the hazards and the park button, okay? There were no heated and cooled seat buttons. There were no volume knobs. Even the auto start stop feature, which by the way I had to disable every single time I got in the car, was hidden behind 2 to 3 layers of the menu. There were no physical buttons. We, the consumer, are showing car manufacturers that's what we want by how we've adapted to technology and other things, but I'm telling you, I don't want 100% screens in my cars. 10 to 15 years from now, I don't know what how are those going to operate. Will they run out of software updates? Will they discontinue the LTE service that made them all work? I'm not sure. This car has physical buttons, no haptic feedback. It's got traditional knobs, controls. I can get in, I can hit the heated and cooled seats, and it just works. I don't know who came out and said we don't want buttons in our cars, but you are wrong. We want buttons in our cars. The other thing this vehicle doesn't have, electronic door handles, okay? There is no electronic latches happening when I open this door. It's all mechanical. I walk up, I pull the handle, it opens. I drove a Range Rover that the door handles literally pop out electronically. And there were times I walked up to the vehicle and they didn't pop out. It took a second or two. What's gonna happen in 5 years when that thing needs a battery? How do you get into your car with a dead battery when the door handles won't pop out, right? Because you gotta pop the hood to jump it. So how do I open the hood if I can't even get in the car? I don't understand what some of these manufacturers are doing, right? Sure, I think that's great during the first 3 years when the vehicle's under warranty, but again, the auto manufacturers are leaning into this technology that is going to create this churn of we have to constantly keep buying cars now as a consumer to keep them on the road. I truly don't think we're going to see Hyundai Palisades with 300,000 miles. It's just not going to happen. So that's, in short, why I landed on the LX570. I've wanted one of these for a long time. I just couldn't bring myself around to spend the money, but after owning so many other vehicles, I now see why. This vehicle back in 2016 was just under $100,000, and 9 years later, with 80,000 miles, it's still worth about $50,000. So in almost 10 years, this vehicle's only lost 50% of its original value. So about 4.5% to 5% per year. If you compare that to that Land Rover Range Rover I bought, same year, same miles, it had lost 85% of its original value. It was 144 grand, and I paid less than 30 for it. And that's just a testament to the long-term reliability of these vehicles. If you go out on eBay and Auto Trader, you're going to see Land Cruisers from the 90s and the 2000s selling for $30,000, $40,000 still, because everything on these vehicles is just designed to last that long. So thanks for coming along for the ride, guys. I'm going to bring you guys some more content on this. We've got some Porsche content coming up, so thank you all for the support.